job of finding accommodation for the men from the other area boards.
Windsor House Hotel. Can you tell me if you've got any accommodation for tonight? We've got another engineer staying for an indefinite period. You can do that. That's fine. I'll send him along later on. His name is Jerry Amblin.
At another office in Hove, staff were responsible for deploying the teams in the field.
So we've got the HV rebuild we want to put in here, so the rest of the Norweb guys and the MEB chaps are in for tying up. So we've got a number of services. We've got notification that since the radio communication thing went out, the MEB chaps in here, we're working in ditching, so we're quite right as per the ticket, so we can rearrange that. Yeah.
The Central Control Office monitored progress and planned the overall strategy.
456 Hyde Square.
Yeah.
Yeah. Priory Field 443.
Yeah.
Lamley's Barn 95. Long Furlong Waterworks, single phase service down.
What's the number?
148.
148.
The Information Office was responsible for keeping the press, radio and television abreast of the situation, a task that was vital to help the customer relations staff in divisions foster the goodwill of the public.
We're hopeful that all of the customers in the Kent area will have their supply reconnected by the end of the week.
And the customers, realizing that this was a freak situation, soon learned to improvise. No need to miss the news on television if there's a car battery handy.
It's been a busy weekend for thousands of Wall Street workers. They were at their desks all day Saturday and Sunday.
We've learned to adapt, because I was born and bred in the country anyway, so, we cope quite well.
And for some, dining by candlelight is never a hardship. To help customers bereft of electricity, Southeastern Electricity representatives like Gordon Taylor toured the hardest hit areas distributing torches and batteries, a practical gesture that was well received by those in need.
Well, it's something to try and offer them a little bit of light in this situation, and it's going down pretty well indeed, where we're finding that people are genuinely without light or anything, especially the older people, that need torches and things to see the way around the house at night. So far, our customers have been wonderful. They really have. I have seen nobody yet, since I've been doing this job and out on the road, that really has given me a hard time.
There must be a lot of elderly people that would, really welcome them, but it is a very good idea, yes.
I mean, you've got to rely on that sort of thing. I mean, with no electricity, and then the candle isn't the safest of things. You can read by a battery, with a battery torch. You can't read by a candle. Well, it's not safe.
It was necessary to draw up priorities for the areas needing attention.
We're luckier than most people around here because we have got an Arga, so we've got cooking facilities and we've got hot water, but because we've no light, no power, being a working person, it's impossible trying to keep the home going without our usual kitchen machinery.
Electricity board came Saturday and delivered a letter apologising for the inconvenience, and they said due to low priority area that would probably be another week before we had power again.
The strategy was explained by the board's deputy chairman, David Lovesey.
Our number one priority is getting everyone back on supply. When the storm hit us, we had something like 1.5 million customers off supply. That's 4 million people. And ever since then, we've been working day and night to get people back on supply. And we now have something just less than 30,000 customers to get back on supply. As you get down to look at individual services, you find that there are literally dozens of trees lying across our power lines, and we've got to clear each one of those off before we can get the supply back to individual customers.
And in the field, where workers came into contact with customers, a heartening spirit of understanding prevailed.
Yes, we're around.
Relentlessly, the gruelling slog continued as one pole after another had to be climbed and mile after mile of overhead cable freed from trees or replaced. But progress was steady, and by the end of the first week, the number of customers without power was drastically reduced. The unusual style of climbing irons used by the Irish contingent caused much comment among their English colleagues, but they certainly did the job. Even in normal conditions, line maintenance is dangerous work. For the hurricane force it was particularly hazardous because of the risk from unstable trees. Safety had to be given top priority, however much the temptation to take risks to save time. A farmhouse in Sussex has lost its power because a pole has snapped. To restore the supply is a time-consuming job, typical of hundreds throughout the board. Farms felt the loss of power more than most, and kept the repair teams busy for long hours in isolated areas where it was necessary to be self-sufficient. One of the charge hands with the line crews was Richard Burgess.
Yeah, they've worked from 7 o'clock in the morning right through till midnight. They've hardly stopped for their dinner. They've had 10 minutes sandwiches brought out to them. They just carry straight on. And weather conditions, the fields have been absolutely atrocious.
Such was the demand for equipment that even damaged units were brought in from other areas and repaired before being pressed into service. A transformer with broken insulators could soon be made as good as new, and the ingenuity of maintenance engineers was exploited in many other ways to eke out the supplies. Seeboard crews, of course, were at the heart of the hurricane force, and continued to work flat out even after power had been restored to all customers and the crews from other areas had gone home. To restore supplies as soon as possible, much of the repair work had to be done on a temporary basis. When it was all over, it was estimated that it would take another 6 months, working through the winter, to bring the network to its normal pristine condition. Perhaps the most formidable task facing the hurricane force was replacing the 3,000 poles destroyed or blown down. To have done that in a little more than 2 weeks was a magnificent achievement, a measure of the dedication and unstinting effort of the 8,000-strong army that came together to fight the ravages of the October hurricane. It took 50 years to build, minutes to destroy, 2 weeks to restore. It wasn't easy, but it was done.
on the board for 23 years. We've been out in lots of storms in our area. We've worked for probably a week, you know, but nothing like this, never. I've never seen it like it. I don't expect anybody else.
And as the hurricane force worked into the night, there was the satisfaction of making the connection that brought light back to someone.
Rings around the house!